Hi and welcome back. Today we are talking about training to failure and how you actually can really easily see if you are really training with the right intensity. So in the last video, you have learned about load selection and stimulus, and that this will add the variety in your training, and that you need to have like different load selections and train towards or have like different stimuli in your training program um, over your training journey to really have long-term adherence and to have better results, because you need to focus on strength but also on building muscles and also on your conditioning to be able to really create a better look and to get stronger. But at the end of the day, this is all nice to know, and theory is cool, and I love to give you this knowledge, but theory isn't everything. You also need to learn and understand how you can bring the intensity into your training session, because at the end, what matters the most to create more muscle is to create consistently this mechanical tension in your muscle, because that's what will lead to more muscle growth, and more muscles lead to more strength. So if you want to have a better look and if you want to get stronger, you need to train with the right intensity and create this mechanical tension. And therefore, we want to train close to or to failure in some cases, so that you have a training effect and that the training is really giving you the muscle growth you are after. Creating this mechanical tension is happening when you're training close to failure, which is simple in like theory, but sometimes not easy, because you really need to trick your mind when going through your training sessions. Often we are stopping when it gets hard, but then you have some more reps in reserve there that we want to exhaust. What failure is not, so failure in training is not a subjective feeling of the movement getting harder. I know, for example, a lot of people are struggling with leg extensions. Leg extensions burn the hell, like if you're doing more than 10 reps, it's burning for sure, no matter what weight you are using, because you are training your muscle very isolated. So the next time you are using the leg extension, challenge yourself and really try to get as many reps out as possible, because I've seen everything coaching all of my women, where we were able to increase like 20 kilo on the leg extension in a couple of weeks, but just because she wasn't she thought she wasn't strong enough to move that weight, and she was stopping because it started to burn in the quads, but there was much more room, and much more strength in her. So training to failure is not, or failure is not subjective. It's really an objective measure, and it's correlated to the speed of your movement. And that's why it's important, even if you're not working with the coach, that you are filming yourself. My coaches are all filming their last set of their training sessions, because I want to see the intensity. And I will say to them, and I'm saying that quite often, like, hey, this wasn't like 1 or 0 reps in reserve. There's much more you can do here. And then the next training session, she knows that she needs to push a little bit harder. And that's what I want to see. So even if you're not working with the coach now, film your sets and see how fast you are really moving. How fast is the last rep moving? So failure is, there are 2 different kinds of failure, one that we don't want and one that we want, one that we are after. There is the technical failure and the absolute failure. Absolute failure is really you keep moving the weight past the point of technical failure with the bad form. So I see that with like curls, hammer curls, or lateral raises, where the body starts to do some crazy movements just to get the weight up. This is like absolute failure. This is not what we want. So we still want to maintain the correct form. For sure, at the end of your sets and reps in the last set, the technique will not be on point. I don't care, as long as you are moving the weight safely and in a correct or not in a bad form. I'm totally fine with that, but I don't want to see you moving your whole body when doing lateral raises, because this is where you will not train the muscle you want to train. Same for, I don't know, same for hip thrusts. If you're doing hip thrust and you pass the point where the form is good, and at the end you are trying to get more reps out or moving more weight, but your form is going to be bad, you will only train, for instance, your lower back, and this is not what we are after. So we are choosing an exercise to hit a specific muscle and to train the specific muscle and grow it, and that's why we want to create the tension in this muscle and not everywhere else. Same for biceps curls. If you are always lifting your elbow doing biceps curls, your front shoulder will do a lot of work instead of biceps. So there we are missing out on gains for sure. And what we want to achieve is technical failure. So technical failure is really when the weight stops moving with the proper form. For instance, if you're doing a leg extension and you are really trying to push your legs up, but it's just not moving, this is the point where you hit technical failure. This is really 0 reps in reserve, and this is where we want to train. And yeah, the more experienced you are in training, the easier you know how to get to this point, because you have already experienced what it means to hit failure. You know where your strength is, and you know how much you can push. So how can you learn to train to failure? As I already said, experience is one big part, but then also exposure. You need to be exposed to train close to failure in your training program. It's really a skill you need to learn. You need to learn how it feels. You need to see how it looks like in your videos. You need to have a look at your videos. And you need to see how strong you really are. So even for a beginner in training, I love to challenge them, to put them in a safe exercise. I will not put a beginner in a back squat and push them to hit failure, but going on a leg press or using a leg extension or leg curl, stuff like that, can really help you to get to this point of hitting failure, but being very safe and seeing how strong you really are, and how it feels like, and how it looks like, and how the movement is slowing down. And the second thing, and this is going like simultaneously all of the time, is the experience. So you need to have a training log, as I showed you in the last video, where my girls are always writing down what weight they moved and how many reps. You need to keep track of your training sessions. Every exercise, all reps, all sets, I want to see all of that in your training log. And you need to film yourself in the gym. Even if you're not getting coached by a coach, you should then take care of that on your own and have a look at your training videos. So you need to collect some data and see how you are progressing, so that you can also make better decisions for your next training session. If you're seeing you were like moving super fast on the last rep of your leg extension, but you should be hitting like 0 or 1 reps in reserve, then you know, like next time you will add some weight to the leg extension exercise. But if you're not tracking this, if you're not filming yourself, you will never know. And this is where most women are going wrong, or not only women, but most people are going wrong in the gym. They don't keep track of everything, and they don't make decisions based on their experience of last week, last training session, and stuff like that. So they are kind of doing always the same, never the right things, but have the feeling they are doing a lot of work, which is not leading to results. But actually they are not doing the right things, not keeping track of their training sessions, not taking videos, not training to failure, and experiencing what it means. So now let's have a look at how training to failure or close to failure looks like. And this kind of video analysis is something you could and should do with your training sessions. So film every last set of every exercise and look at the intensity, look at the movement speed, like how fast is the weight moving in the last reps. You can see we will start with the upper body, my shoulder presses. You can see here that the weight is moving quite smoothly. It's challenging, but it's still moving quite smoothly. And as it gets harder, you see I'm struggling to move the weight over my head. And here I'm reaching failure. I will show you this again. The weight is moving quite smoothly. And then the speed of the movement is slowing down here. And then you will see that I'm trying to get one last rep, but this is really 0 reps in reserve. This is where I can't, with proper form, execute one single rep. This is really 0 reps in reserve. And then the next example is an iliac lat pull down, single arm lat pull down with 1 rep in reserve. So this is close to failure, not failure, but close to failure. Again, you want to look at my elbow, like how fast is my elbow moving down towards my hips. It starts to get challenging, but the weight is still moving quite fast. And the closer we are coming to the point where I will hit like 1 rep in reserve, the slower the movement gets. And the last one, this one, is really slow. You can see this was my 1 rep in reserve. I will show you this one again, or the one before. This was the one before, already a bit slower, but then the last rep is really, I need to fight to get my elbow down. But I was able to achieve this was rep. That's why it's not a 0 rep in reserve, it's a 1 rep in reserve. And then for the lower body, I will show you a Bulgarian split squat, especially the lower body. This is where most people are not going even close to training with the right intensity because it's more challenging, but also we have, more, how do you say that? We are capable of more than we most of the time think. Especially in the lower body. In the upper body, it's for most people easier to reach the right intensity. For the lower body, it's more challenging because we really need to grind and push through it. This is where everybody wants to say like, oh, it's so exhausting, I can't anymore, can't do more reps anymore. I'm the same, but I really need to challenge myself and push through. So this is my Bulgarian split squat with a pause at the bottom. And you can see that the movement is pretty smoothly, and then it starts to slow down, like the speed. You can see that it's getting harder for me to come up here. Very slow. And this is probably where most people, and myself too, would stop when it gets like very hard. But then you need to push through and really challenge yourself. And this is where I wasn't able to come up again. So this was the last rep. Oh, this was the last rep, sorry. And then 0 reps in reserve was not able to push myself up. And then for the pendulum, also hitting 0 reps in reserve. just to show you how slow the movement gets. Also with the spicy pause at the bottom. And this is already, you can see it in my face that I'm already like struggling and that it's very hard. And my legs are like, please stop. I can't do this anymore. But then you need to push through. The goal of this was to hit failure. I was above the reps I should hit. I think I should hit only like 10 reps. I was doing 15 at the end, but I was trying to push myself to failure and see how many reps I can really get out. And you see here it's already getting slower. Here too, like it's very hard to get up, but I'm still able to get more reps out. And this is where the mindset is everything. And you need to have this beast fight mentality to push through and to really hit failure like here. So again, this is the last rep, struggling. And then I wasn't able to come. This was the last rep again, sorry. And then the last one where I'm not able to come up again. So this is 0 reps in reserve. I hope that helped. Let me know how it goes. Film yourself and analyze your training intensity on your own.